Hello, my name is Sam Feltham and welcome to Expert Interviews here on Smash the Fat. It is my pleasure to introduce you to a guy that makes me crack up and think at the same time. It's the documentary filmmaker of Carb-Loaded, Lathe Poland. How are we doing, Lathe?
Doing great. Nice to be here, Sam. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you on the show because I've kind of been aware of the documentary Carb-Loaded for it's probably about 18 months, it must be, or 12 months at least. When did the Kickstarter project start?
Yeah, it's actually 2 years, over 2 years.
2 years, gosh, yeah. So, well, I must have because I was a contributor to that Kickstarter project, and yeah, it's amazing to sort of see the whole process and sort of seeing the documentary being made with photos and things like that, which is the brilliance of kind of technology today, is that you can kind of actually see the process happening from kind of fundraising all the way to the actual creation and watching of it. And for all the folks out there that don't know what I'm going on about, it's a documentary created by yourself and Eric. How do you pronounce Eric's last name? Eric
Carlson.
Carlson. Oh, I don't know why I thought it was Chrisen or something like that, but Carlson isn't very particularly hard to pronounce. But anyway, this is the look of the documentary there. There we go. That's a better view. It had an original look, and then it was developed even more, and it's finalised with a nice plush look. And the documentary, people can go check out the trailer and then go rent it or buy it at smashthefat.com/carb-loaded. And it's kind of like a cross between entertainment and education. Now, before we kind of get into the making of the documentary and kind of what it's all about, this whole process started for you with a bit of a health scare yourself. So let's start off kind of with a bit of your background and sort of how you came to make this documentary.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't think I would be 2, 3. Well, actually, I guess I'd say 4.5 years ago. I didn't think I would be involved in a project like this. And then in 2010, I went to the doctor for a routine physical, and to my surprise, found out I had diabetes. And I was completely blown over. I really didn't know which end was up. I didn't know what to do, and so for a little while there, I kind of just did what you're supposed to do. I was taking my medication, and I was trying to not eat as many carbs and that sort of thing. And then I heard an NPR, National Public Radio, story on the huge increase in the rate of diabetes in children, and it was so drastic. It went up, from like 9% in the year 2000 to 23% in the year 2009.
Mm.
When I heard that, I practically swerved off the road. I was driving, and I realized, okay, what's happening to me and what's happening to those children is big. Something's happening to all of us, and I need to figure out what it is. So I went straight home and had the outline for the film Carb-Loaded created within probably the next day or so.
Wow.
So that's kind of the genesis of what got me thinking about my health and the health of people in general as it pertains to our diet and acclaimed nutrition experts, us taking in the information they're giving us, made me start wondering, well, does it work? It seems like it's not.
Yeah, something's up here, right? Because the thing is that you're a slim guy, and people kind of, walking past you on the street wouldn't think, this guy's got type 2 diabetes, So kind of what's the deal with that? How does that happen?
Sure. So a person that has a diet that's high in processed carbohydrates, and in some instances even just carbohydrates in general, there are there's people kind of in different levels of spectrum as how that diet affects them. Some people can eat that diet and have relatively few health consequences. I would say that there aren't many people that are in that category. Mm-hmm. Then there are a big group of people that slowly are kind of wearing down their body as they eat that way. And maybe they put on a little weight or what have you. And then there's a big group of people that either manifest diabetes, they might put on massive amounts of weight. They might develop fatty liver disease inside. So, people tend to think of, well, certain people, that's how, they're affected. It's not affecting me. And I might have even been one of those people. But I was thin, hadn't gained or lost a pound in 10 or 15 or 20 years. And I was probably one of those people that was probably developing fatty liver disease. In fact, they call it skinny fat, or there's another expression, TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And I was one of those people going about my life and thought, well, I don't have to worry about what I eat because I look okay on the outside. And it was a complete myth that I was telling myself.
Absolutely. So you kind of found this out, and then kind of within about a week you had, you listened to that NPR segment. Was that with David Ludwig at all?
I don't remember if that particular study was with David Ludwig. It's very possible because, yeah, he was doing something around that time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't at that point in time. I had no idea who anybody was.
No, this is it. So kind of, 4 years ago, you were totally unaware of this kind of underground type health community that was going on. And so kind of when did everything kick off with the documentary? Because it's one thing to have, an idea down on a piece of paper to actually kind of, starting to launch a Kickstarter campaign, because you can't just put a Kickstarter campaign up there and just expect people to donate money. So how does that work?
Sure. Yeah, there is an immense amount of planning that has to start. So before there was a documentary, we made sure that we had a website. Mm-hmm. And we had to make sure that we had content on this website that was pertinent to the topic. We had to make sure the social media was all kind of up and rolling. So that started at least a year previous to the Kickstarter campaign. So that means I've been working on this for almost 3 years. And then after, there's a lot of planning that needs to go into a Kickstarter campaign because you need to build a tribe of people that are interested in what you're doing long before you open up the doors and say, hey, everybody, you want to be interested in helping support this documentary? You're going to get no one. And so we had to really reach out to the community. We had to reach out to people like yourself, to people like Andreas Einfeld, the diet doctor, fantastic, Mark Sisson, Denver's diet doctor. There was a whole bunch of people that we were just trying to reach out to and get their feedback, get their input as far as what they think is going on with this national health crisis. So that was the first year. We did the Kickstarter campaign. We had to create like a little trailer. So we had to do some interviews before we even really knew the kind of the scope of the film. So we did half a dozen interviews and used those to create a trailer. And then from there, we went to Kickstarter. It was a fantastic Kickstarter campaign. We asked for around $40,000 of support, and we got nearly 60. And so that helped us know we're on the right track. This is something that more than just a few people are interested in. There's a lot of people that are interested in this. And then the last 2 years the last year we've been making the film kind of nonstop. So that's the whole process in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've kind of been going around the world as well. It's not just people kind of mostly in the States. Obviously, you got Andreas Einfeld there, although he was kind of, I think the interview was done at AHS, right?
It was.
And then with Professor Tim Noakes, did you guys have to go down to South Africa and interview him there?
No, fortunately, outside of Canada, we didn't have to leave our borders. So we timed everything when we knew people would be coming into the States. So it happened to be that Professor Noakes was in New York City. I live about an hour from New York City. He was going to be there for a conference, so we met up with him there. That was we tried to be as efficient as possible because the money that we did have we knew was going to. I mean, I do video production as a living, so I knew that the money that we had was going to evaporate, and so we had to be as efficient as possible. We would go to conferences, or when we would go to a certain area, we'd make sure that we were talking to all the experts in that area, in the West Coast, in the Portland area, or in the San Francisco area, or in the Colorado area. We always made sure we're not just going to fly out there and do one interview. We were going to try to be as, efficient as possible.
Absolutely. And then again, it's kind of one thing about getting footage. I mean, I've probably got something like, with all of the expert interviews that we've done, probably in the region of, 90 hours worth of
Mm.
interviews there. But trying to collate that into a documentary that makes sense, that's going to be entertaining and educating. How do you create kind of like a story narrative, their story arc, I think it's called, and how do you come up with that and create that?
Sure. Well, let me just tell you, I hate watching documentaries. So it's ironic that I was involved in making one. Yeah, you look at my Netflix queue, and there's about 25 documentaries I've made it maybe 10 or 15 minutes into, and I'm like boring, and I'm tuning out and watching something else, probably with explosions. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in kind of story, like even the basic 3 acts of story. And so I knew that the documentary needed to have something along those lines, and it needed to be at least reasonably entertaining, not laugh out loud, funny, or thrilling, or anything along those lines, but it needed to be enough that people would be willing to watch it. I was trying to make a documentary that at least I would watch, which is, I think, a fairly high bar since I don't enjoy watching them. So yeah, we pounded on a script for quite a while before we shot all the interviews. The interviews kind of stand on their own, and the statements and the questions all pretty much stand on their own. Mm-hmm. But how do you get those to kind of line up in order so that you present a logical development of the issues involved and potential solutions? So once we had most of, I would say probably 80% of the interviews shot, we had to finally nail down the script. And we used the friends and family network. Okay, I want you to read this. What do you not understand? What do you like? What do you hate? What do you want to see more of? And then once we had a really good script that pretty much stood the test of some pretty critical friends, then we started thinking about, well, how do we visually illustrate some of these concepts without just having someone drone on? And so we brought in a lot of animators, some really talented folks from all over the world, and I think they gave us a pretty compelling visual aspect to the film as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The graphics and animation are absolutely spot on. I love kind of the cartoony characters of the pancreas and the heart and things like that. Is very good. And also kind of the comedic doctor that you have kind of throughout. Now, is he an actual doctor or is he just a comedian?
He just plays one on TV. He was, I hate to say it, but he was based on my real life experience with many in the medical community. And I'm not by any means anti-medicine or anti-doctor or anything like that. I'm not living in some monastery on the top of a hill. But I do think that just like any trade, they can tend to follow a certain pattern. And, we've done it this way, we should always do it this way. So he was the doctor, while funny, he was based on my experiences. And he, a little bit clueless at times, where I would have needed someone a little bit more, involved in how nutrition could help me. That never even came up,
Yeah, it seems pretty crazy. Like, I think maybe some doctors maybe need some empathy or sympathy training of some sort, to start to sort of like put themselves in other people's shoes, because that is so important when it comes to health, is being able to understand somebody else's situation. And this is kind of the situation that we are in, is that, as you were saying earlier, some people can, eat a lot of refined carbohydrates and be absolutely fine. It's not a majority, but some people can. And so then that kind of blurs the line for some people, making them think that, well, if they can, then, almost everybody can.
Sure.
And it's all about kind of specific advice for different situations, really, isn't it? And that kind of came across in the movie. And kind of what was the overall message with Carb-Loaded?
Yeah, I think it would be kind of a two-part message, which is it's not one size fits all. So not, one diet, you need to eat X. Really, we need to find out for ourselves what we should be eating. And so we have to kind of experiment a little bit. And then the other half of that is what we are eating. We need to eat real food. We need to stop eating products. Products can really sneak up on you. If it has to have a barcode to exist on planet Earth, it might not be food. It might actually just be a product. And there are plenty of great foods that have barcodes. So the barcode isn't the defining factor. It's whether or not, if that barcode wasn't permitted to be on that, would that thing exist? And there are a lot of things in our world that simply would not exist because you need a lab to engineer these things. There's a lot of really wonderful foods that require very little processing, and those have been found to be the best for us. So that's the two things. Find out for yourself what you should be doing for your health as it pertains to nutrition. And the second half is eat real food. Try to get away from products.
Absolutely. And over kind of the course of creating the documentary, you really did interview kind of a real plethora of experts there, from Gary Torbs to David Katz as well, who have had their own battles, and Stefan Guillenet in there as well. So kind of, how did you kind of level the playing field there in terms of having them all on the same message? Because I think you did a good job of doing that.
Yeah. Well, some of that was naivete. I discovered many of the differences that some of our different interviewees had with each other after the fact. And I think that was great because by and large they agree. They agree on pretty much the big issues. Some of them kind of disagree on maybe the policy aspects of how you would fix some of these problems, or they might disagree with some of the little specifics of the science. But on a whole, our interviewees agreed with each other. So yeah, we were very fortunate, and all of them were so generous with their time and with their willingness to be involved in the project. Yeah, it was funny. We would, oh really, they said that about that person, and they said that about that person? I didn't know. I would say 90% of it I didn't know because I was so busy just trying to find out what they had to say,
Yeah, and that's what kind of a good interviewer does, and a good documentary filmmaker does as well. It kind of gets the expert, without kind of knowing anything from the outset, interviewing these people. And that's kind of something that the creators of Blackfish kind of did. It wasn't originally set out to be this kind of groundbreaking, right, we should stop, large sea mammal captivity. She just kind of started off with, what's going on here. There was this death at SeaWorld, and it turns out that there's loads of these deaths, these incidents that have kind of gone on and things like that. And then it kind of just turned into this thing that, raises the questions of maybe we should think about large sea mammal captivity. It's probably not a good idea. Really.
Right, and that, we were very diligent in making sure that when someone was speaking, we weren't using them out of context, we weren't rebuilding what they said. We tried to use as much of just a straight cut as possible so that no one would get the idea that somehow we were trying to twist or bend what people said, because like I said, they mostly agreed. Mm-hmm. And so we tried to find all those different places. And then some people don't have necessarily commentary on this particular subject, but they do have a lot of wisdom in marketing, or they have a lot of wisdom in other aspects of the industry. Well, we need to know that stuff because it reflects on the greater story. So we try to always never, take someone out of context or bend what they said and put it in a section where it looks like they're saying one thing when they actually meant another. We tried to be really faithful to their words.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of more something they do maybe on Dateline or on Fox News or something like that, like to get the trailer going for more viewers later on in the evening. Now, kind of during the process of interviewing all these experts, were there any moments kind of during the filming where you kind of took a step back or just sort of, wow, that's incredibly insightful, didn't know that before?
Yeah, that's the challenge and the beauty of a democracy, of a documentary.
Yeah.
You don't know which way it's going, and you think you know which way it's going, and you have a general idea. And there were a couple instances where we would interview someone and realize, okay, yeah, we're going to have to completely rewrite that section because that opens up so much, and we had to cut so much out of the film. It was heartbreaking. The first one that pops into my head is our interview with Dr. Perlmutter, and just realizing the relationship between diabetes and Alzheimer's, and a high carb diet and Alzheimer's. It was pretty clear that we needed to kind of change our approach to that section because it was so huge. I mean, we literally sat there with our mouths open, like, okay, wow, what are we going to do with this section? It was huge.
Yeah, it really kind of took you aback there. And so how did you kind of go about rewriting that? Was it just, go back to the script and do that, or you just did it kind of in post-production editing?
Yeah, most of it happened in post-production. The first cut of the film was almost 3 hours long. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, we had the final length is 74 minutes. So it came down to, there's an expression, kill your darlings. We had to let stuff go. We knew that it was great. We knew that people would really be fascinated by it. But we needed this thing to be watchable. Yeah, that's right. And it would have been just too long, and I mean, we would have had to almost make it like a sequel,
Yeah, that's right. Maybe you could make a sequel out of all the other footage that you've got, or maybe just kind of release a Lord of the Rings style director's cut.
Sure.
With the extended scenes.
Yeah. And we've kicked the idea around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that would be great. I mean, I'd love to watch that. I could watch 3 hours of that, and all these guys just chatting it out. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Well, it's been a real pleasure chatting to you today, Lathe. And just everybody watching or listening, definitely go check out the trailer, which you can do at smashthefat.com/carb-loaded. That'll take you through to the trailer. Check out the trailer. If you like the trailer, you can either rent it for $2.99, or you can buy it for $9.99 as well. I think, is it $9.99, Lathe?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, definitely just go check it out. Absolutely fantastic documentary on the current kind of health situation that we currently have, and what to do about it in, again, an entertaining and educational way. And were there any other wise words that you want to impart upon all of our listeners and viewers here?
I don't have any wise words. I go and I interview people that have wise words, so listen to them. That would be my wise words. Listen to the smart people that are talking about this issue.
Sure. That kind of starts off by checking out the trailer, I suppose. And there's only one more thing to do. And actually, in fact, before we do that, we did have one question that I completely forgot to ask before we rounded things up there. And that was from Martin, who asked, when is it going to be on iTunes?
Yes. So soon. We expect it to probably be around January, maybe a little later, but it's going to be sometime in that realm. And there's a number of other channels that will be coming online. I should also mention, excuse me. I should also mention that FMTV, Food Matters Television, is also going to be pushing it out pretty heavily. So Food Matters TV, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon. Pretty much any way that you watch your content online, it will be within the next few months. It will be there.
That's fantastic. Is it going to be on Amazon Instant Video?
It is.
Brilliant! Because I subscribe to that. So there we go. That's fantastic. So yeah, as I said, there's only one more thing to do, Lathe, and that's to hear us smash it out from Lathe Poland. So on the count of three, I want you to shout "smash it out" to the camera. So 1, 2, 3.
Smash it out.
Hooray! That's awesome. Appreciate that, Lathe. Well, again, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody go check out Carb-Loaded at smashthefat.com/Carb-Loaded. And then if you do come out with a director's cut, Lathe, or any sequels or anything like that, we'd love to get you back on the show.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, Lathe. Thanks a lot, bud. I'll chat to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye.